This is a 2-month checkup on a 25-year case of Lyme disease. It's really complicated and it's pretty common of what we see with people on this. So stay tuned, you're going to learn a lot. This is your Health Reclaimed. We'll expose the roots that fuel Lyme and chronic illness so you can finally heal, help you to understand the root causes of Lyme and chronic illness so you can reclaim your health and restore your life. I'm Dr. Brad, veteran functional medicine doctor. We've been working with people with chronic health for 4 decades now. We're the tail end of our 4th decade. We commonly get people healthy again that have been to multiple doctors and not got any help anywhere. So this is a good one. So let's jump in. I'll give a background to this case. This is somebody who's had Lyme now for pretty close to 20 years with a plethora of more diagnoses piled on top of the Lyme disease. There's MCAS, there's bronchitis, there's lung issues, there's long COVID issues, there's claims of neurodegenerative things going on. Brain fog is really huge. They've had some really high fevers. That's with a long COVID. That's generally suspect of babesia, which in this case, that's more of what's driving it. And commonly with things like COVID and long COVID, the COVID helps speed up the immune system, so the Lyme infections, they just break out of biofilms and really overwhelm people. So they think a whole bunch more is going on, but it's not. It's basically the same thing. When we look at this, the brain fog was pretty big. The hormonal dysregulation was pretty big. Lots of problems with food and all that. So we look at the initial evaluation. The adrenals were about as fatigued as you can possibly get. With that, the hormones in those are completely dysregulated. The hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, all of those are dysregulated as much as they do. So that sets the whole body in a crisis state. Blood sugar is not going to be regulated with this. All the hormones are going to be upside down, which they are. The stomach is in a lot of trouble. H. pylori infection is as strong as they ever get. H. pylori is a squid-like bacteria where the tentacles screw in the stomach wall. It makes it so the stomach can't produce enough stomach acid to digest proteins. It's a stomach acid that stimulates the gallbladder to release bile once contents hit the small intestine. So with H. pylori, you don't release enough bile to digest your fats. You don't release enough stomach acid to digest your proteins. With that, it inflames the gut. You don't digest your minerals either. And that really puts somebody in a metabolic crisis with all this. The pancreas is not handling the hormones very well, so that's blood sugar regulation. That's also your body temperature regulation. And it's not doing very well for the digestive side for your enzymes. Liver is completely maxed out. The detox pathways inside the liver are extremely weak. And the liver is the 4th of 4 detox organs that we have. The other 3 are inside of the gut. And the liver is just supposed to catch what the gut doesn't process. So that lets us know the guts can be quite compromised, and it is. Gallbladder is really compromised. It's not functioning very well. It's not releasing bile very well. Small intestine, colon are about as weak as they ever get. Detox pathways are quite impaired, and they're not doing their detox. The leaky gut, toxic bowel is significant in this case. The gut flora is a total wreck. The Candida overgrowth is over the top. Candida typically comes in 4 forms: a yeast form, mold form, fungus form, and fungal parasite form. And the fungal parasite, when you look at mold or fungus, it's got mycelia that come off of it and look like harmless, cottony things. Well, the building block for the cell walls in all of the forms of Candida and other yeast too, funguses and mold, is chitin. Chitin is a compound that's the outside of beetles, crickets, the outside of shrimp. It's the exoskeleton in your crustaceans. Your immune system can't do anything with it. So when that's out of sorts, we have a lot of problem. It is the normal microbes in the flora that keep the Candida in check. And when those get wiped out, say for an antibiotic course of antibiotics, it wipes out the healthy bacteria which keep the Candida in check. And then it grows unchecked because our immune system can't deal with it. So that's unchecked both in the small intestine and colon. That's what SIBO is colon microbes growing inside of the small intestine. The lymphatics inside of the immune system are extremely taxed. Over half your immune system is inside of your alcohol, and that's extremely taxed. The food intolerances is just over the top as far as food intolerance, global, all over the place. The whole hormonal axis is really, really taxed and not functioning very well. It's not regulating very well at all. So we've got all that. The brain is hyperinflamed. It's 10 out of 10 as far as inflammatory issues go on with that. The emotions will be destabilized. She's full of almost every form, every form of Lyme that we have, and that's about 10 different forms, along with Lyme neurotoxins, biofilms, and such. All but one form of Babesia. Babesia is a single-celled animal that climbs inside your red blood cells, eats them from the inside out. Divergence is the strongest of those forms. It generally takes an average of 4 months to clear divergence from a reasonably healthy person. This person, their health is pretty beat up, so it's going to take us a little longer than that. Ehrlichia and rickettsia, Ehrlichia is a small round bacteria that climbed inside your immune cells and compromise the immune system, so it can't work very well. Rickettsia is a small round bacteria that invades your epithelial lining. So that's the linings of your gut and your blood vessels. In the gut, it makes digestion even worse than what it was. In the blood vessels, it makes the blood cells tumble instead of just slide down like a Teflon slide. The mycoplasma is really high. Shedding issues are really high with this person also. That's where your long COVID is. Epstein-Barr is really high. The common thing with the shedding, the added mycoplasma and Epstein-Barr about 2 years ago now. And the mycoplasma wipes out the respiratory system, so there's where your pneumonia and bronchitis come from. Epstein-Barr knocks out the gut, even worse than what it was. The few other sundry bacterial infections inside of the gut too. Salmonella is one of those. So we started working with this person. They started recovering pretty well. They'd had boils all over their skin. Those went away fairly soon. Energy's been coming back. And there's quite a bit of improvement at the 1 month mark. Now we're at 2 months, and we look at it. The adrenals have pretty close to normalized. The hormonal axis is getting really close to normal also. Your hormones are your secondary regulation of all your body functions. So these are vital for virtually everything. So when we look at the hormonal axis, most people have heard of the HPA axis. That's the hypothalamus. It reads the circulating levels of hormones, gases, minerals, and other critical body function. It communicates with other parts of the brain. With the hormones, it communicates with the pituitary. The pituitary sends signals out to the different hormonal organs to regulate what levels need to be, telling them to speed it up if the hormone levels are too low, to slow it down if they're too high, or just to keep doing what they're doing if they're doing pretty well. So hormone system, it's regulated pretty well. The problem that she's really having is with the food intolerances. She's minding her own food intolerances very well. It's other people in the household, places where she works, that don't. And she gets exposed to these foods that are cause hyperreactivity responses inside of her just through the air. She's not eating them. They're just coming through the air. And that's a real major issue right here. And it's a pretty common one with people that we work with, that there's other people that just aren't on the same page for whatever reason that is. There's a multitude of reasons. But when other people in the household don't help meet people in the middle, it really makes healing very difficult. So we look at the Lyme disease, it's almost gone. The Ehrlichia and Rickettsia, those are real low. Those should clear out probably within the next couple of weeks. It usually takes an average about 6 to 8 weeks for Ehrlichia, Rickettsia, and the Lyme disease. Even somebody like this that's had it for decades. And the reason why this is a little slower than that is because the other people she's around, they keep introducing her to food she's intolerant to, keeps her in a hyperinflammatory response, and that keeps the immune system busy trying to deal with these toxins that shouldn't be floating around throughout the body. So it can't deal with the Lyme, the Ehrlichia, and the Rickettsia very well. And this is a pretty common thing to what we see here. The Babesia, it's down to just a little less than half in the divergence of where we started with, and a third of where the other strains were. This is probably going to be 4 to 5 months to clear this one, simply because they were so beat up when we started, and they're not getting a lot of cooperation with others. The 2 toxins coming off, the ammonia from the infections, that's decreased. It's down to 1/5 of where we started. The acetaldehyde's the same thing. We look at the Candida. She's likely to clear the yeast form within the next month. The fungal and fungal parasite form are going to take longer than that. Mold form is pretty low as far as that goes. So this is a common thing. The brain is coming back very well. With all this, the energy levels, they've risen up quite a bit. Finally sleeping for the first time in years without a bunch of sleep aids. And the motions are normalizing along with what the hormones are. Calorie intake has been pretty good. She's doing really well with the foods on her own. It's what others have been introducing and exposing her to. Mycoplasma is gone. The Epstein-Barr is real low. That's embedded and ingrained inside of the gut. When we look at SIBO, SIBO is actually where the contents of the gut go backwards, where the small intestine meets the colon. That's called the ileocecal valve, and that's what causes SIBO. That is normalizing really well. We look at the MCAS responses. That's hyperreactivity of the immune system to all the toxicity that's spilling out globally, and that's calming down very well too. The breathing is getting quite a bit better. The weight's starting to peel off as it should, as everything starts to normalize. And that's something to add right here. It's really common with chronic illness for people to add a lot of weight on. The reason isn't because they're eating too much. The reason is because the hormones dysregulate, and the hormones are what create fat and make it distribute in different places. It's the adrenal hormones that melt the muscles, or liberate the amino acids, the muscles which convert in the liver into sugar. And that's one of the biggest cause of diabetes, is that right there. So those things are normalizing, and as that normalizes, all these other things start to normalize too. The ability to clear toxins has increased quite a bit. That's bringing a lot of rest in the inability to sleep, which that they had years of not being able to sleep very well, especially after the long COVID hit. And even the CDC admitted that COVID was probably Epstein-Barr. That used to be easily searchable. I learned a long time ago, when you find something like that, you got to write down the site, otherwise you never find it again. And that got buried along with all kinds of other things the CDC buries along the way. So we look at all this because the body hasn't been able to really digest very well, absorb nutrients very well. It slows healing down a bit, not significantly, a bit. And you think about somebody like this, they've had this for 25 years, they've been to a multitude of doctors, and no one's ever made any progress. And inside of 2 months, we've made significant progress. In about 2.5, 3 on the outside, she's going to clear all the things of Lyme disease, save for Babesia. And with the rate she's going, that's probably going to be close to 5 months. The Candida, the yeast form, it's going to clear pretty close the same time as Lyme disease does, but the fungal parasite form, that's going to hold on for a while. Well, this is pretty typical of what we see. This certainly isn't a cherry-picked case. It's just one that's in front of me right now because it's something we've been working with. And if you're struggling with this, it would be really worthwhile to get a hold of us, because this is really a common scenario with what we do. We address everything. It allows you to actually heal. So we capsulize all this. We started off with a multitude of cross reactions, interactions, infections. We're getting dramatic healing inside of 2 months for somebody that's been to a multitude of doctors over the last pretty close to 25 years without getting any help at all. So this is real good news. It's real successful. She's going to heal up well. She's going to be a little bit behind what our normal is, just because she's so beat up metabolically when we started. But I expect this one to fully heal, and we're not going to have a problem with that. So as I said earlier, if you're really struggling with something like this, it's worthwhile to reach out, get a hold of us, do a consult, see if we can get you on a page of doing something like this, because this person is going to get their life back. You can too. Thank you. We release these every Monday and Thursday. Like this, subscribe to it, follow us, share it with somebody else. That helps us keep going. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.